Hello, welcome to my channel, The Blended Homemaker. I'm so happy you are here. Raising children in two separate households with an ex-spouse is a real challenge, and I would say it's one of the hardest challenges you might find yourself in. I'm here to inspire you and encourage you to keep going and to find God's path for your journey. With me today is my wonderful husband, Brad. I wrangled him into this video last minute so that I could do a follow-up of my previous video, which is titled, Your Marriage Might Be Broken, but Your Co-Parenting Doesn't Have to Be. And I wanted to bring my husband in so that he could address how a step-parent can play a supportive role in the co-parenting relationship. And honey, I know that you've been a huge support for me in my co-parenting journey in a lot of different ways. First of all, I would say you're always optimistic. So when I feel like the sky is falling, you are always optimistic and you're like, it's gonna be okay. It's all gonna work out in the long run. I mean, you're just always just so encouraging and so optimistic that way. And you always have the attitude of a peacemaker, which, I want to have that, but when you're in the heat of the moment, sometimes it's just hard to keep that mindset. And so you're really good at being strong in that area when I'm feeling weak. Mm-hmm. And then also, it's so nice to bounce things off of you, right? Like before I send a text or send an email, I'll bounce it off of you and, get your opinion, your feedback. And sometimes you're like, I would reword that. It's got a little tone of fire in it. So, you might want to make that sound a little nicer.
A little bit of rewording.
Yes, right. Or not be so wordy, right? Be a little bit more direct and to the point and not have to give a million explanations. So those are ways that you've been a support to me, and I just wanted you to share, share from your heart how a step parent, give some advice to step parents, share how they can be that supportive role within the co-parenting relationship.
Yeah. So the number one thing I would suggest is being the peacemaker, and sometimes, more times than not, that's difficult to do. And with anything in life, I mean, to make the peace is not exactly easy. But in this instance, it's very important. I think it's the most beneficial way to be constructive and to stay, forward motion, progression. I always say slow progression is better than no progression. So as long as, we're being constructive and we're being peaceful, being a peacemaker of the scenario, I think it really benefits everybody, and it's really the only way to go. It's tough sometimes, but we need to be able to do that. That's first and foremost. And the other aspect is that you'd mentioned before is what is the optimistic. It's right at the edge of my tongue and I just couldn't say it. So being optimistic over a situation. So Britt had mentioned, there's certain scenarios that would lead up to Britt wanting to text back or, communicate back. And, before you send that text, let's reevaluate and be optimistic over the situation at hand, and then follow up after that. And so we're not saying anything that we don't mean, and we really have a clear lens of really what's being said, or we're not being super critical, but we're being accurate with the information that we're giving back. So we're not getting on a wild goose chase of just not so good communication, I guess. Just misinformed, miscommunication, things of that nature. So
putting out the fire instead of adding to the fire.
There we go. Putting out the fire.
Putting out the fire with your communication.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're just always such a good example of you'll remind me of, hey, we didn't exactly have the best childhood, but we turned out okay, so.
There is hope, there's
hope. Yeah. So just because you feel like, oh no, the situation seems so horrible with my children, and, but really it might just all turn out just fine, just look at it as a learning experience.
I think it makes you a stronger person. I think things in our life maybe not be the greatest to go through, or you would never want that for somebody else. But there is a side of it, and this is going back to being the optimistic or being the peacemaker, being constructive, however you want to view it. There's some great fruit that comes from that, because you become a stronger person, and you can handle more. And things that maybe you think that you could never handle, all of a sudden you're able to handle and get through. So I always think that's a good, we live in a tough world, so it's always a good thing.
Yeah, definitely makes you more emotionally and mentally stronger.
Yes.
When you put on the attitude of a peacemaker, for sure.
And the other word that comes to mind with that is resilient. So there's a resiliency, you get bucked off, you get back on,
So I would say that, to all you step parents out there, you really, really, really are a backbone of the co-parenting relationship that your stepkids are in, that they're sandwiched in the middle of. You really are a backbone to that. So my hope and prayer for you is that God gives you strength and courage and endurance to keep being that strong element that your family needs you to be in that relationship. Because really, the ultimate goal for everyone involved is strong, healthy children, right? That's, strong, for them to become strong, healthy adults. That's really the ultimate goal for everyone involved. And a good relationship takes two, right? It's going to take, the change in your attitude that needs to be done. And then it's also going to take a change within your ex's attitude as well. But then when you have new spouses involved, really it's no longer takes two, now it takes four, right? Once everybody's remarried, now it's okay, it's going to take four of us to make this co-parenting relationship a good one.
Yeah.
Right? So that everybody is, not feeding the fires that arise, but putting them out and trying to find unity within the tribe for the sake of the children. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So that they can have the best scenario for their mental and emotional health. So well, thank you so much
You're welcome.
for joining me on the spot like you did.
Pull me right in here again.
We're just speaking from our heart, nothing scripted. We're just hey, let's just talk about this for a second. So anyways, well, I love you, and I hope that this has been a great help for all of you. If you like what we have to say, please share, subscribe, comment below, and may God bless you on your co-parenting journey.